views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Well, where should your teen and young adults learn financial and money management skills from? School? Home? Well, you'll be surprised to know that only 17 states require high school students to take a course in personal finance. A 2015 Junior Achievement and All-State survey found that 84% of surveyed teens look to their parents to learn about money management. The only problem, the survey also shows that many parents are also uncomfortable about talking money matters with their children, partly due to their lack of knowledge on their own financial missteps. But coming up on this edition of Perspectives, we go front and center with one organization trying to change it all, and that's educating and empowering teens to achieve their financial goals. Stay ahead. My guest in studio has years of experience. We'll talk to him on this edition of Perspectives.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime, and of course, we invite you to watch Perspectives every week here on BronxNet Channel 67. Of course, if you want to find out more about the show, what do? Well, you can watch us every week on television, or you can check us out on social media. We got Facebook, Twitter, or you can hit me up on my professional Facebook page, Daren C. Jaime, and you can talk about the show or talk about some past episodes, or let me know what you want to hear. And guess what? We just might share your perspective right here on the show. But coming up on this edition of Perspectives, we go front and center with some money matters. My guest in studio today, he has years of experience in the not-for-profit as well as the political and private sectors. But at the age of 19, he became the youngest African-American elected to the office in New York State, serving 5 years on a school board. He's also a regular contributor here on Perspectives, but today he's here for a very unique purpose, as he's now the executive director of Sensibility. We welcome now Roy Paul to the show, and no, we're not talking Trump, we're talking dollars and cents.
Yes, we're talking about things that are more important.
That's right. Your money matters, right?
Absolutely.
And so congratulations, you're the CEO of Sensibility, and for people who know about Sensibility, give us a little history.
Yeah, we're kind of a unique hidden gem. It's been around since 2004. Some people think I founded the organization, but I didn't. And it was co-founded by two Harvard grads who in their experiences realized that many of them and their friends, even though many of them had college degrees, didn't really understand basic financial matters, particularly when it came to investments in the stock market. And they said to themselves, well, if we don't understand this stuff, and we've got college degrees, and in this case from Harvard, can you imagine how young people are faring in the society, especially those who don't come from privileged backgrounds as they did? So they said, let's start volunteering. And this was incorporated in 2004. That's when the idea was sort of put on paper and realized. And they would go around and start very piecemeal, you know, volunteering here, there, trying to call up a school, hey, can I come and volunteer and teach a class? And they really worked around a curriculum base. That's when they started to develop what the structure would be. And then over the years, they've sort of gradually grown into what it is now, a organization that has a full-time staff of different people doing different things. We've got 88 partnerships, different community-based organizations, from your YMCA to different public schools in all the 5 boroughs. And we teach about 3,000 to 4,000 students every year. So we've really grown exponentially from when they started in 2004. And essentially the mission is very simple. Teaching teens the fundamentals of personal finance. Everything from from how to set goals with your money to how to open up a savings or checkings account to investing for your future, whether it be college, investments, the stock market, and your 401k. A lot of people don't know very basic things at different stages of their lives, so we try to educate them. Now, it's funny because my background is in education and literacy, and I talk to older people, and they always say to themselves, teenagers, we need to learn this stuff.
Right.
I've got a 30-year
Right.
mortgage. I have no idea how it works. And some people have gotten themselves in trouble. Now, you've seen with the subprime mortgage crisis, people signing documents, aren't reading it, don't know what balloon payments are with their mortgage payments. So a lot of people can really benefit from them. This organization just happens to target teens.
Yeah, and it really getting them in on the early foot, because when you talk about it, as you said, adults really don't have sometimes the basic knowledge. But we'll talk about when you're hitting these teens at. And so when a teen walks through your door, says, "Listen, you know what? I want to be a part." What do you do? What do you take them from, and how do you work with them from there?
Right. It's really based on their skill level. So many of them are attached to an organization, a YMCA or high school. And I give you an example, like if we have like the YMCA in Harlem, if they're from 8th grade to 12th grade, that's really our target market. Based on the coordinator of that site, we kind of ask them, what are the skill sets of the students coming to your program? Are they, low income? Do many of them, understand finance? And if they don't, then we start them at the beginning with goal setting and really understand how to create a framework from which you build on. The High School of Economic and Finance, obviously, those high school students they know money. They're a little bit more advanced. And so we probably would start them at more advanced stages when it comes to the stock market and investing their money. The concepts are really to make them really understand the basics of how to really operate in each of those different frames.
So, if you're a person that's out there watching right now and you need some financial literacy for your young person, Sensibility might be the place to go. And guess what? You will find out just how to do it, how to walk you through some easy steps. Because guess what? It's very hard. And sometimes we think that financial literacy is the easiest thing for us as adults, but as Roy says in the beginning, we've said it's a struggle from the beginning for a lot of parents who feel like they got a handle on it, but really they don't. So what advice do you give to young people in terms of finding out and being engaged at an early age?
Well, the parent piece is very important. We have a relationship with DYCD, the Department of Youth and Community Development, and they're changing their standards to really include parental involvement because they're understanding that a lot of these issues that young people are facing stem from the home. So they want to make a nexus between what they teach and then how the kids can go back home and teach their parents. And so that's really our target population in addition to the teens, is to really go after the parents. And so I just did an article for a newspaper the other day, and they asked me, what can parents do? And I said the first thing they can do is understand that they don't really have to know all the answers. There are enough people in your life, someone who does your taxes, you go to, if the parent has a bank account, you've got a whole bunch of bankers right in that bank account. You walk in a change, there are about 4 or 5 people lined up on the side ready to, to help you. And any one of them can be your personal banker. I mean, that's the benefit of being connected to a larger bank. Even if you have a small bank relationship with a credit union, those people are there to work for you. And so you can walk into any bank, you can go to the guy at H&R Block who does your taxes, and you can say, look, I don't really understand how to save for college. I want to, make sure my kid has enough money, even if it's supplemental. It's really never too late. Some people think, well, you go to college at 17, 18, but my kid is 13. How do I help save for college in 5 years? But it's really never too late. And even if it's not tuition-based savings, it's always, textbooks or, a Metro card. If you're fortunate to the CUNY system now, we've got, free tuition for those who meet the requirements in New York State with the Excelsior program. And so you may just need help with incidental things, and it's never too late to save for those things. And so you walk into a branch and you say, look, there's the saving plan, there's a 529 plan. How do I get access to that stuff now to make sure that he has a little extra when he goes to college?
Roy Paul, our guest with us, he's the CEO of Sensibility. He's talking finances and money matters. We'll be right back with him in just a few seconds.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family. the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Back here on Perspectives, Daren Jaime here with you. Our guest in studio, Roy Paul, and he is the CEO of Sensibility. And I know that you've seen him before as our political analyst and doing some commentary and stuff like that, but he's got a totally new hat. And we're excited for him and the work that he's actually doing as the CEO of Sensibility and sharing a little bit about financial literacy with our young people and really helping them to become advanced in the area of financial literacy. Talk a little bit about this, because when we talk about young people, one of the things that many times is not always on the radar is goals. But when it comes to financial literacy, you guys work in terms of helping them to set some goals and really put some things in place.
Right. Well, the way that we kind of break it up is to really have an idea of what you want to achieve. And many people have, wants and they have needs. We all have them, actually. Right. And it's about putting them into a specific category, what you want and what you need. And we try to encourage young people to go for what they need instead of what they want. Because you may want a new pair of Nike sneakers, but you may not need them, right? Or you can probably do with the lesser cost pair of sneakers, and we try to make them understand that in the totality of your spending, what do you have and what are you able to spend? Because that's where people get into trouble. It's not that they are unrealistic with the kind of money they're bringing in. It's they're unrealistic how they're spending it. Right. And so if you've got $100 that you bring in, whether it's through a job or your allowance, then really try to sit down and create a plan and a budget for how you should really spend that $100. And credit cards, a lot of young people, as soon as they hit into the college years, that's when they get hit with credit cards and they get all these solicitations in the mail and they go, wait a second, I can get $500 credit line, I can get $1,000 credit line, and they don't really understand that there are interest rates attached to that, and you have to pay that back if you only do the minimum payment over a long period of time. That $1,000 becomes $2,000, and God forbid you default, and then that opens up a whole new can of worms. So we really, encourage them to really live off something that they can sustain.
And living off of something that you can sustain is a major thing for college kids to be able to listen. Take your money and only spend what you can spend. Save as much as you can, not like you're making a whole lot, but don't do the credit card thing, because that's a real big challenge that we find a lot of people. I remember, as a matter of fact, there's a law that's actually enacted that you couldn't come on college campuses anymore with solicitation, because kids were actually working their way into debt. Credit scores were actually tanking before they even had an opportunity to graduate.
Right.
And it becomes hard.
Right, and I even found, and I know this from personal experience, when I was in college, a lot of my peers didn't understand the student loan documents that they were signing. They go to a school, whether it be public or private, and they had to pay $30,000, $40,000 a year. They sign, Sally Mae or one of these loan companies, and they don't realize that the moment they graduate, 6 months later, they're going to start, coming after you for the money that you owe. And people then say, wait a second, I didn't know it was going to be that much a month. How am I supposed to, get a $30,000, $40,000 job and pay this amount of money every month, and I have to pay rent in New York City, which is very expensive, as you know, and people really don't understand the pressures that are going to be placed on them. And so I always encourage young, especially if they're in college or they're about to go to college, really sit down and understand those documents and ask those questions. When I graduate, how much am I going to have to pay back? Right. And connected to what you will potentially make in your industry, you have to know if you're going to come out in the PR sector and you want to be a publicist, you might make $35,000 your first job. Can you really take $800 and pay that back in student loans? So really understand what you're about to take out and sign yourself up for, and that might mean going to a different college. It may mean coming to CUNY or going to a community college for 2 years before you transfer. But really understand the kind of cost you're going to be taking on once you sign those papers.
For students who actually take part of your program, I understand there's a workbook attached
Right.
for some things. So talk to us about the workbook.
Yeah, the workbook is something that is supplemental to the PowerPoint presentations, and they can take that with them. And it's really for them to document as they go along with our classes, because we wanted them to have something physical that they can take home and
Right.
you know, regurgitate and get more knowledge on. And it's essentially all of our lessons in a workbook with some examples of other people. You know, we come up with fictitious people, and you know, say you've got $50,000 a year. How would you create a budget after all the taxes are taken out? And before I got this job, I went and I said, I want to go in and teach one of these classes. So I went to a school in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and these were 10th graders. And it was about 30 kids in the room or so, summer program after school. And we had a chart up, $50,000 a year, $3,000 to spend a month. And I said to the kids, using the 50-30-20 rule, you know, 50 being the things you absolutely need to live off of, you know, your rent, your car loan, things like that. How would you sort of divvy up this $3,000? What would you spend on rent every month? And these are 10th graders, remind you, in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And one of the kids raised his hand. He said, you only need $1,200. And some of the kids started to laugh because, you know, maybe they understand that $1,200 in New York City may not get you a studio apartment.
Right.
Or maybe if you have 3 roommates in Astoria, Queens, that's probably the best you're going to do. And another kid in the back of the class said, no, you only need $170. And it stunned everybody. Like, you gave me that look, right?
Right.
And I said, $170. I looked at him and said, where did you get the idea that you can only spend $170 a month for rent? He said, that's how much my grandmother pays. She's on Section 8.
Wow.
And these are 10th graders. A 10th grader sitting in the class thinking that because his grandmother pays $170 a month on Section 8, that that's a realistic goal for him
Right.
as a teenager growing up, gonna go maybe to college, hopefully to college, getting a job, and then he too can pay $170 a month.
Yeah, welcome.
Right.
To the real world.
And so back to your original point about kids talking to parents about them and parents about money and them being unfamiliar, it's because a lot of them, you know, in many cases are on Section 8 government assistance, and they don't understand how to talk to the kids about money because it's not something they deal with on an everyday basis. There's not a plethora of cash to go around and talk to kids about. And so this program is really giving them a real wake-up call to what they're about to face and know, you know, you're not going to pay $170 in rent. But this is realistically what you need to look forward to in a city like New York City.
Is New York City, I guess I was going to say, is New York City it's a different beast, obviously.
It's a different beast, and you know what is considered affordable here is different from what's affordable in Arizona. And that's really because the cost of living is so high. You know, when you have median incomes for affordable housing at $60,000, $70,000 a year, take a look at a lot of the careers that exist, whether it's in the public sector or even the private sector when you're first starting out. People don't come out of college making $60,000, $70,000 a year. And affordable housing is really for those who are coming right out of the system.
Right.
It's not for people who are established with 10, 15 years of experience and they're making $70,000+. And not everyone goes to the top-rated law schools and gets accepted into the top-rated law firms and makes $160,000 a year plus as first-year associates. There are people who take different routes in their careers and they want to get into the television industry, like the wonderful young people here, and they're going to be exposed to an industry where there are hiring freezes, right, at many of the large networks. And if you want to go in as a TV writer or as a teleprompter, you're going to be making like $25,000, $28,000 a year. $60,000 is really elusive to you. That's not affordable housing. So we have to really understand that in New York City in particular, where the market does not compete with the job salaries of young people coming out of college, it's a completely totally different animal that people cannot sustain here.
Roy Paul's our guest. He's the CEO of Sensibilities, and we're trying to make sense out of the financial literacy game and how to really become more literate, particularly for young people. And so stay with us here on Perspectives. Got more show coming up right after this.
And I can't change
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Continue our conversation with Roy Paul, CEO of Sensibility. And so if a young person's watching or a parent is watching, how can they take part?
Yeah. And so for, you know, on either spectrum, on the first spectrum when it comes to young people, for parents, I always say give their kids an allowance. You know, give them something small depending on their age that they can manage and understand the value of a dollar. And as they grow up, they'll start to realize, even if they're affluent, because there are more affluent people in New York City. I mean, it's just a very expensive city to be in. And for that reason, a lot of kids, even if they have money in their family, don't really understand the concept of money because they just knew that they had a card and whenever they wanted something, they swiped it and someone else paid the bill. They don't know how that stuff works. So really teach them to really understand it no matter what spectrum on the financial scale you are. You know, one of the big things that I try to encourage young people to do, especially after they graduate from college and get that first job, is to really avail yourself of the resources at your company. A lot of them have, you know, resources like a 401k policy. And you'd be amazed at how many people work at a company and don't know that their company has a 401k policy. And the companies, most of them, if they have a policy, usually match your contribution. Most people don't know that. And then they, you know, if it's 3 to 5%, most people don't even take advantage of the maximum contribution. It comes out before taxes. You don't even see it, and it's very minimal. And over, you know, the course of your span with the company or within your career, you can end up with a lot of money after 25, 30 years. And most people don't even tap into what those resources are. And so I remember one time I was with HR and they do these sessions. I was at a company and they had a 401k policy. And I was reluctant to go. I was like, oh my God, I gotta take a lunch break and go to this HR session. But I went and I realized that the company had this very generous 401k policy. And I was at like half of what I could have maxed out at with the company contribution. And I was like, I can't, why wouldn't I be doing it? And I asked the HR representative, I said, how much would it be if I kept it where I'm at versus to maxing out? And she showed me the difference. And I was like, why didn't someone tell me this before? So we really have to become aware of the resources that our companies do offer us.
And those resources, you have to take part and find out exactly where they are and how you can actually do that. You have to ask some questions, and really that's the bottom line. You have to ask questions. So at Sensibilities, I'm sure a lot of questions are being asked, but also a lot of answers are being given. What's the main thing that you would want to convey to people with regards to financial literacy?
At a very basic level is really become aware of your financial position. Think about graduating from college for your kids. Think about your retirement if you're an adult. Really become aware of what you're doing. And then on the tip end scale, because I have, you know, we service a lot of low-income communities, specifically in the Bronx. I had a meeting with Andy Kane, council member, yesterday to talk about getting into his district. And, you know, life insurance policies or insurance policies in general. Really understand what's going to happen to your money when you're not here. Do you have a will in place? If you don't, you might want to get one. It's very simple. Even if you don't have access to a fancy lawyer, write something down, sign it, go get it notarized, and have 2 witnesses. You really have to be aware. If you have a home, many low-income families, if they struggled for 30 years and paid a mortgage off, that really is the only thing they have asset to. What's going to happen to it? You don't want to end up in surrogate court. So, you know, you have to really make sure that you make some decisions about your financial health and really be aware of your surroundings financially.
So if people want to get in touch with you, what do they do?
They can Google Sensibility. I think we come up the first search when it comes to financial literacy in New York, so we're good on SEO. Info@sense-ability.org is our website, but we're very easy to find, and I'm very easy to find. Roy Paul, and you can just search a whole bunch of different places and get me.
Mm-hmm. And partnerships, obviously, working together with a lot of people. How receptive are business partners, or I should say potential partners, to partnering with you with matters such as this?
Very. We offer all of these sessions free of charge. So any host site, YMCA, your neighborhood, Blockbuster, whatever it is, they all want to sign up because it's free. On the corporate side, we just signed with Apple Bank yesterday. We got the confirmation that they're going to give us a corporate sponsorship to do the work we do. It's going to allow us to expand in the Hudson Valley and Long Island. So we're very happy about that.
Awesome.
You know, in the financial sector, a lot of our volunteers come from Barclays, Goldman Sachs, Societe Generale, a major corporate sponsor. And because we're teaching teens about finance, and they're all in the finance industry, they all want to help us.
All right. Well, Roy Paul, you never let any grass grow under your feet, man.
Good
to have you.
Thank you.
All right. He is the CEO of Sensibility. He is working hard and literally helping people with financial literacy, particularly our young people. Listen, you got the information. It was shared at the bottom of the screen, how you can get in touch with Roy and Sensibility, and hopefully you can tap in to some things, because money does matter, whether or not you want to believe it or not. It really does matter, and having the control and a better understanding of it makes all the difference in the world. So listen, that about wraps it up for this edition of Perspectives. I'm Daren Jaime. I want to thank you for watching. Now, next time you can just check us out on Channel 67, hit us up on the web, as I said, also on the social networking sites, and find out about Perspectives. But until next time we meet, stay safe, share your perspective with somebody else. You just don't know. It just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care.
What's on your mind?
Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light, cause it might make a difference in someone else's life. What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let 'em know.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.